let's get back into it. It's time to take on the Lady of the Vortex. According to my tests, the device is now functioning in perfect harmony with the crystal, meaning we can leave whenever you're ready. But you must understand, tests can only tell one so much. Until we approach the Howling Eye, until we attempt to breach the barrier itself, I cannot be sure that this will work. I think it only fair to tell you that there is a small but statistically significant chance that the crystal could trigger a massive, mayhap it is better for us to remain positive. Petra, I want to thank you for reuniting me with my ship, for trusting in me to develop this plan, for everything. You've helped me to rediscover a part of myself I'd forgotten. I am not the man I once was, and I do not know if I ever shall be, but I do know one thing. This feels right. My apologies for the sudden outpouring of sentiment. I would have waited until after the mission, but, well, you understand. You think we're gonna die? Is that what you're saying? Thanks, Yet. Thank you again for the support, Yet. Seriously. Thank you.
She's ready.
Got some Sid dialogue.
Ah, she stirs.
What the? That was so awkward. His hand was like barely touching him.
To Kurthus, and an audience with the Harpy Queen Garuda.
It's kind of a cool moment, though. Alphanaud is interesting.
Engage.
Enterprise engage. Wait, this really is Star Trek. Wait. Enterprise engage. Beam me up, Scotty. Epic song.
Damn it.
What was that timing?
I once flew in this airship, and I was not alone. There were adventurers on board. Adventurers like you.
I was not expecting the crystal forehead.
How long have I worn these damn goggles? Ah, yes, I fancied myself a trendsetter in my younger days.
Look at that collar.
The young prodigy, admired by all, exactly like his father. Born and raised in Garlemald.
That chair is massive. Yo. It's a Magitech.
It was only natural that the precocious young student should become an engineer. Had his father not done the same? Father, when did we stop seeing eye to eye? When did Meteor become your everything, and your loved ones cease to matter? You abandoned us all, but he was there for me, Father. There for me when you were not. Though he proved no better in the end. Gaius was just another man, with an all-consuming obsession. And so I ran, left the Empire behind and came to Eorzea, where I built the ironworks.
Did I just... I'm a time wizard.
Ah yes, it was then that I first donned these goggles. Eorzea opened my eyes. It was home to so many manner of people, each with their own hopes and dreams. People worth saving, and so I fought beside them. I wanted to prove that my knowledge could serve a nobler purpose. I wanted to prove that there was another way. And it all began that day when I found my new home.
Drive the
I had
ship.
forgotten how wonderful it was. The wind in your hair, the endless sky. That light. It was you, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
It's surprising how few people know this, but all pureblood Garleans have a third eye. Perhaps mine helped me recognize you, or perhaps it was just a lucky guess. The Enterprise was made for this, to carry Eorzea's protectors into battle. I am proud to be able to call her my own.
Sid? What exactly do you remember?
Alfinord, my boy. Sorry to have been such a burden. I remember everything. My name, my people, and my purpose. Everything. Come, it would be rude to keep Garuda waiting.
I feel like his mouth movement is weird. Itaka like this. That was epic though. Cool how, like, when we first met Sid, he was just a nothing character, and then he's become this. Whoa. Is this Final Fantasy XIV? All of our efforts, all our travails, all of it was for this. Make ready, Petra, for the end is nigh, be it hers or our own. Sephiroth time. Anything but that. Who dares intrude upon my sanctuary? Your insolence shall not go unpunished, landwalkers. "12 preserves. She's huge. As I live and breathe. Over there, look. Demons. Amalja and Kobold prisoners. But why would the Ixal bring them here? She finds it fun, I guess. Wherefore come you hither, foolish mortals? Garuda, we are come to put an end to your reign of terror. Hear you this blasphemy, my children? These landwalkers would bring me low. You who are bound to crawl upon the earth should revere me, for I am the wind. Did we not take to the skies and slip your defenses? We are bound by nothing, Garuda. I'll tell her. You think your playthings give you strength? They will not help you here, Landwalker. This is my realm, where none can challenge my supremacy. Struggle through though you may. I shall slake the roots with your blood and festoon the canopy with your entrails. Squawk! Slay the unfeathered ones we shall, as an offering to Garuda they will serve. Leave the Ixal to us, Petra. We will keep them distracted while you deal with her. Do not fail, Petra. Remember, you fight for the Scions, for Eorzea. Easy enough for you to say. Just don't fail. Sounds good. Also, how's it going, Magic? Good to see you, man. This worm would die by mine own hand. Come then, I shall grant you that which you seek. Epic song. That smile, though. Take this. Hurts. Feeling we should probably get rid of those. I think they're dead already. See more plumes. Where are they at, though? Well, they're everywhere. No idea what these do, but I'm not taking any chances. That doesn't sound good. Oh! Ouch. Okay, whatever that was, it hurt. Can I... Ouch. I don't think I can go all the way out there. Did I get them all? Oh, there's one more. Got her. No, 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 no! Yes. What? How in the hells? Ah, ha, 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 ha. This is my realm. You have no hope here. None. None. Do you truly believe you could defy a god, landwalkers? My power is limitless, my children legion, and they have rendered unto me a wealth of crystals. Their gifts sustain me, their faith empowers me. None save my children will escape the reckoning mortals, and those who would use my crystals to waken the rest shall realize the folly of their faith. Then all shall worship none but me, the one true God. Ehehehe. Of course, worship. So long as the Ix will keep praying, she will never fail. Guys, it was you guys said you were going to take care of them. That's your fault. Then let's stop them. You already said you were going to do that. Doug. Man, my team blows. Aha, ha, ha, hee, hee, ha. Now harm will come to you, my children. This is only the beginning, landwalkers. All who oppose me shall suffer for their defiance. Soon the worms of the forest shall receive my judgment. The desert vermin next. Their walls of stone will not shield them from the tempest. And then will I take vengeance on the sea lice. Their wooden boats cannot outrun the wind. Tremble, mortals, for I shall visit you all in time, and all shall be mine, all mine. You, landwalker, you who dared to raise your hand against me, you shall be the first to pay for your sins, not with your death, but with your life. You will serve me, landwalker, to your last breath. Yeah, I guess I'll just stand here. No, no, I claimed you. You should be mine. Did I just stand there and kill her? All that, and I just stood there and won. Literal plot armor. We got them all. We Ash Ketchum'd. We are the Pokemon Master. What? What are you? What have you done to me? No mortal should possess such power. This is impossible. We win. Every time you use an action, receive damage, or suffer a KO, the gear you equipped is damage. Yeah, I know that. Are you telling me this because one of my equipment is about to break or something? Yeah, my necklace and earring is at 30. My other ring is at 30. Any goods? Yeah, good job. Nice dunce cap. Epic. Yeah, they're fine. That whole thing about killing the followers to kill her didn't even apply.
Why do you not tremble at my might? Why do you not beg for mercy? Why do you not die?
We've done it.
Correction. I've done it.
Ah! Impossible it is! Kill you all!
Is that all? O Lady of the Vortex, O mighty Garuda, of all primals the most terrible, I say again, is that all?
Gaius!
Gaius.
Ah, Sid, my boy, you look well. For one who has forsaken kin and country, I wonder what else you will forsake before the day is done.
What?
Dude, Sid is just a quote machine.
What exactly did you hope to accomplish here this day? Well, I shall accomplish far more.
I don't even understand why he said what. He knows what he's talking about. Any reason you guys are attacking him and not us? Just had to show his power.
Is that all? Is that all? Insolent mortal! I shall make you suffer! That foul stench! I see now. She has touched you! Very well.
Seven hells, does she still mean to fight?
Our Lord of the Inferno Almighty Freed brought us succor in our hour of need.
Save us, Titan, Lord of Crags! It hurts us so! The pain! The pain!
What is she? 12 preserve. She cannot mean to.
Dude, wind hurts. They had no choice. They were getting blown about.
No, this is all wrong.
Stop gawping, boy. We must run.
I mean, we got the crystal. We
Oh
out.
my god, the bunny hill for babies?
The bunny hill for babies?
Surrender yourselves unto me. I would feast upon your ether. None shall stand against the wind.
Let's go, Daniel.
Bear witness to the glory of the Empire!
Is that Ultima Weapon? Did they just drop Ultima Weapon on the summons? Oh my god.
It is you who will suffer, Garuda. Ancient Alec had ways of dealing with your kind. Now, look on their ultimate weapon, Icon, and despair.
No! No! No!
Magnificent. It exceeds all expectation.
With each primal it consumes, it grows more powerful. A marvel, is it not?
Yeah, we blew it.
Such is the fate of those who oppose the Empire.
Like standing on the hand, like proud Claude style.
There will be no warriors of light to save you this time. If your leaders are as wise as they are reported, they will surrender. Your skills are impressive, but they will not be enough.
Twelve, have mercy. What chance have we against such an ungodly creation? And who was that armored devil?
My
That was
stepdad.
Gaius Van Balsar, legatus of the 14th Imperial Legion and Supreme Commander of the Garlean invasion force in Eorzea.
Of course. The Black Wolf. How could I not realize? Grandfather mentions him in his journal.
I was never so naive as to think the man would abandon his ambitions. But these developments are beyond my worst expectations. What have you been doing these past 5 years? How could something of this magnitude have escaped the Alliance's attention?
Well,
We
what have you
heard
been
no
doing the last
whispers,
5 years?
Saw no signs. In the wake of the calamity, the Empire seized land and built outposts, but that was the extent of their aggression.
Damn it, Gaius. Where in the seven hells did you find that thing?
It has been a day of unexpected developments, but the fact remains, Garuda is no longer a threat.
True. Mission
While I
success.
take no comfort in the manner of her downfall, it does mean that we may safely put the matter of the primals to one side, for the time being at least.
Which just leaves the matter of Gaius's new toy.
Indeed. That weapon poses the greatest threat to Eorzea. It must be destroyed. But first, we must needs find out all we can. Let us make for Vesper Bay. we shall rebuild the Scions. All is not yet lost, my friend, for we bear the light, and shall surely lead our people from the darkness.
Whatever you say. So, I feel like that moment would have been super epic if you played this game when it first came out. Like, I just imagine, because we were talking last week about how they kept building up the Empire, but, like, not really doing anything with them. Like, every time you went and did something, the Empire would show up and just say weird, secretive things and then leave. So they had been building up the Empire, like, building it. And I was waiting for the moment where they finally did something. And I said last week, like, I really hope what they do is awesome, because with all this build up, like, you know, if it's not worth it, it's going to be super lame. And to finally get like that moment and have them bring in Ultimate Weapon and smash the things that the rest of the characters have been building up all game about how strong the icons are, then this thing just pops in and smashes them like toys. Like, that was pretty awesome. I feel like that was a pretty good, like, way to shift the focus from the icon battle to the Empire battle in a cool way. And they even connected Cid to Gaius, which I thought was cool, because up to this point we didn't have much connection with the Empire other than them just being the evil guys. But to, like, directly connect Cid with Gaius was a good idea, because now we have, like, a reason to at least know who Gaius is in particular. So yeah, no, that was really awesome. I enjoyed that a lot. Well, that was an experience I would rather not have again. Something has been troubling me, Petra. Shortly before the Black Wolf took center stage, when Garuda attempted to claim you as her own, I could have sworn I saw eye, but I'm sure I was mistaken. In times of great stress, the evidence of the eye is apt to be misread by even the most inquiring mind. Forget I mentioned it. Why not tell me? Returning to the subject of our earlier discussion, we may consider the matter of the primals closed until further notice. No beast tribe will dare summon their god so long as that weapon exists. But does everyone know that? Truly a more effective deterrent I could not imagine. It almost seems a shame to plot its destruction. A new hat. Ooh. Kind of like it. I think I still prefer without, though. It is past time that we return to the Waking Sands. To leave our headquarters in disrepair any longer would be to dishonor the memory of those who fell there. We have been brought to our knees, but we will rest, rebuild, and rise once more. Alrighty then. What in the world was that noise? Yeah, that was definitely really cool. The Garuda fight was cool too, but a bit short. Which normally I would say like, oh, well, I'm super strong, but I'm not really. I was pretty much on level. It may have ended up being longer had I not destroyed the feathers. But the feathers were just the same gimmick as the other fights, where I just had to, whenever they summoned something, kill it. So, yeah, that was a bit of a, like, not a letdown, but not exactly super exciting. But Garuda herself was cool. Those ads she spawns normally need to be killed because they destroy the pillars, and if you don't have the pillars and she does that one move, you all die. She did some move that destroyed the pillars, so I guess, like, once she does that, she doesn't do that attack anymore. Yeah, I'm really curious to try the harder bosses, because it seems like that's when the gimmicks actually, like, really come into play. Not that a fight has to have gimmicks to be good or anything, don't get me wrong, but when, you know, like on normal difficulty, every fight has just been, if it summons ads, kill it, and then just attack it, you know? Yeah, I was gonna hide behind the pillar. So, like, what happened was she teleported into the middle, and I thought, oh, I should hide behind the pillars. But then she didn't do anything. So I was like, okay, I guess I don't have to. And then she did it again, and I just attacked her. And then she did it again, and then the third time she did the big boom, destroyed all the pillars, and I took like 1,000 damage. So I would imagine I was supposed to hide behind the pillars, but once she had already teleported twice and did nothing, I was like, okay, I guess I don't have to worry about the pillars. So that would have just been something where I would have just had to learn. She did a big, she said something before she did the big move, so like I would have known if I had gone back into the fight that that's what I was supposed to do. But it didn't matter in the end because I just, from the other icon fights, I knew that I should destroy ads when they appear. And then when she did her big move, it didn't kill me. So I just kind of I was able to just ignore the gimmick. But yeah, like obviously in the harder difficulties, you'd have to learn the gimmicks better. But I also think that the gimmicks are probably going to be different or more like, because like I said, the other summons were the same. It's just there's an ad, kill it. Yeah, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about last week. Being an MMO and being a game that's kind of more of a laid back, play at your own pace, not really a game that's trying to punish anyone, it kind of makes sense that the regular story doesn't ever really punish you. But at the same time, I would argue that, like, if you're going to have a gimmick, you need it to be punishing, or else what's the point? Like, if you're going to have fights have certain, like, puzzles to them, then you need to be really punishing when they fail it, or else they're just going to brute force through it anyways, and it won't matter. And at that point, what's even the point of having them, right? But perhaps, I mean, I don't know. This, to be honest, this isn't a bad way to do it. So, like, you have the gimmicks and you kind of show the player like, hey, there's some gimmicks, but you can just brute force through on story. And then later you say, all right, now you have to beat the fight on extreme mode. And you're going to remember like, oh, Garuda has a gimmick where I have to hide behind the pillars. And this time, if you don't, it kills you, you know? So I don't think that's a horrible way of doing it. In my personal opinion, I would rather be punished throughout the story. But if their idea was, you know, it's an MMO, we want people to just experience it and have fun, and then later we can challenge them, then that's not a bad way to do it. Have the gimmicks be in the fight, but have it brute forceable, and then later, you know, have an optional, more difficult version where you then have to do the gimmicks. Like, that's not a bad way to approach it, I don't think. Because, again, we have to put ourselves in the mindset of an MMO designer. You know, people that play this game aren't necessarily looking for a super hardcore challenge, at least not while playing through the story. They're probably flying through the story so they can get to post-game with their friends or, you know, whatever. And so, and even post-game, a lot of people aren't really looking for a big challenge when it comes to MMOs. They're very social games. And a lot of people don't even really care about the actual gameplay of the game. It's more of the community and everything else that revolves around it. So like, yeah, I mean, from the mind of a MMO designer, I feel like it makes sense to not just auto kill people when they don't listen to a gimmick during the first time in a fight doing the story. But it sounds like, from what people were saying, a lot of these fights used to have insta-kills, and then they updated it later to take them out. Which I don't agree with that. If you're going to have it from the start, just leave it, you know? I don't think people were complaining about that. I think people went in, died to the gimmick, and then they went, oh, that's the gimmick. And then they went back in and did it again and succeeded. And then was like, I did it, you know? Like, I really doubt people were complaining like, oh, I got insta-killed by this boss one time because I didn't know the gimmick yet. This game sucks. So, like, I don't see why you remove it. I could understand if, you know, at the beginning they decided not to do it, but if they already did it at the beginning, I don't see a reason to update it and change it, especially if, like Brainbox said, the story gets harder later anyways. Better to prepare people for the harder fights later than make the earlier fights easy and then suddenly start blasting later in the story. So I don't know. That's pretty questionable to me. I don't know why you would do that. Unless they made the later fights easier too, and they're just trying to funnel people into buying the expansions or something. But you know, if you and MMOs are such a social game that I feel like it's important for everyone to have the same experience, you know? Like, I just imagine your friend has played this game for years and then you finally get into it and they're trying to talk to you. I mean, kind of like we're doing right now. Like, a lot of you guys are trying to talk to me about how, like, oh man, Garuda, that insta-kill was so, like Ifrit, man, I hated when I fought Ifrit for the first time and I was on the edge and I died and then I fight it and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? It was easy, you know? Like, being such a social game and having people pass down their wisdom, it feels like the game should stay relatively the same, you know, like at least in terms of the story missions and difficulty curve and stuff. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, like, make it easier. Now, I understand why they made the game flow faster. They did the same with 11, where they made you level up way faster, and that makes sense to me because once people have played for a couple years, so much of the game base are at max level or higher level that you don't really want people just jumping into the game to take forever to get to that point. So I get that, but no, like these fights where you're level synced, like what's even the point of level sync too, you know? Like, if you're going to try to make it easier so that people can quickly fly through and get to their friends, why even have level sync? Like, you know, I feel like level sync is really the idea of, like, let's give everyone the same experience. So then when they get to their friends at level 70, they can reminisce about that time they fought Ifrit for the first time. But now they're, like, changing what that experience is by making it easier. I really like that. How was I supposed to learn that mechanic? You just did. Yeah, I don't know. There's a really weird, I think there's a separation of people that understand the NES hard mentality of, like, when you die, you're learning. And then there's other people that think when you die, you suck or you failed. You know what I mean? Like, there's a very specific part of the video game industry as well as community that think that dying is an essential part of video games. And then there's another section entirely that thinks that you should probably play every game without ever dying, or else you're bad. You know what I mean? And I feel like the separation between the two gets further and further every year, where it just doesn't, it feels like more and more people think that losing in a game means they did something wrong. Well, that's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. That's the point, is that it depends on the game. So you have someone that plays something like this, and that this is, I'm only talking like the early games. I know later it's not this way. But they play something like this, and they're like, okay, if I lost, I did something horribly wrong. Like I should be not dying ever. And then they play something like Dark Souls, and they die once, and they're like, this game isn't for me. I've had a lot of people tell me that. I've had a lot of people, like, even friends in real life that don't play games a lot. And they'll tell me stuff like, oh, I tried Dark Souls, but I couldn't beat the first boss. I feel like it's just not for me. Like, I died against the first boss, and I was like, wow, I guess this just isn't my game. And I'm like, brother, you're supposed to die at the first boss. Like, literally supposed to. Like, that is part of the gameplay. That is part of the mechanic of the game, is that you die, you know? It's equivalent to dying in Super Mario Bros. You know, like, it's part of the experience. And they just don't really, like, connect that, because a lot of newer games don't work that way. So it's just interesting, like... And I hope that newer games isn't making that split worse, but I feel like it is. I feel like newer games are expanding the gap between people that understand death as a mechanic and people that don't understand that. Because so many newer games make sure you can't die. Final Fantasy XVI does everything it possibly can to ensure you don't die, you know? And you can still die. I died like 3 or 4 times throughout the main story, mostly because I was screwing around, but, you know, I also didn't have any of the safety things or use any items. You know, Final Fantasy 16 makes it perfectly clear, hey, if you don't want to die, make sure you use items. If you don't want to die, equip these equipment things that make it so you can't die. Don't want to die, make sure you set the difficulty to easier. Like, they will constantly say, you know, make sure... And then you die. One of my biggest gripes with newer games is when you die and it asks you if you want to lower the difficulty. That makes me so upset. Like, no, this isn't how video games should work. Even if you're not in the realm of thinking that death is part of gaming, that is not how difficulty should work at all. You know, if you're choosing to pick a certain difficulty, you should be challenged at that difficulty. It's insane to me that you can die like twice and the game will be like, do you want to make it easier? Like, what is the point? What is even the point of playing games if you just... I mean, I know there's sometimes some people just play for the story or whatever, but then they probably picked easy already. Like, it's just wild to me that would be a thought process of, like, the second you struggle... Because I've talked about this a lot before. That's what makes video games different. If you want to just watch the game, then just watch a movie. The thing that makes video games different is that they can challenge you. And it doesn't need to... Not every game needs to be Dark Souls, but if you just even begin to start to struggle, games will be like, oh, let's make sure you don't struggle. But that's what makes video games, is that there is a bit of struggle involved. There is a bit of you have to interact with the game and learn things in order to continue the story or continue whatever. Like, that's the whole thing that makes video games an art, is that I can't just see the ending of Final Fantasy XVI. I can't just watch the story. I have to get better so I can unlock the rest of the story. I have to beat the big dragon to see what happens after the dragon dies. I have to beat the final boss to see how the game ends. That's what makes a video game, not, you know, a movie or not a book. There's some amount of interactivity between me and the video game. Either I need to learn mechanics and beat a boss, or I need to solve a puzzle, or I need to, even in the sense of like a walking sim, I have to like move forward and interact with the game to, you know, unlock what comes next. So, like, it just blows my mind that... And again, like, if you're someone that doesn't like challenge in video games, that's fine. But then you're the type of person that's probably going to pick easy. Or you're someone that's going to pick normal, and then as soon as you start to struggle, change the game to easy. I don't need the game to tell me that. I don't need the game to be like... Because then it feels like I'm doing something wrong by losing. You know what I mean? Like, that's my problem with it. If I struggle with the game and decide to lower the difficulty, that's totally fine. But by the game, you know, if I lose twice and then the game says, hey, do you want to play on easy? Now it sounds like I'm the problem. Now it sounds like I'm bad at video games. This is why people quit video games. This is why my friends that don't play many video games come to me and say, like, oh, it's just not for me. Like, I'm just not a video game player. Because they played Final Fantasy XVI, died twice, and the game said, wow, you suck. Do you want to play on easy? That's why people quit video games. Because they're like, wow, the game, like, this just isn't for me. The game wants me to set it to easy because I'm so bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the way to do it. Like, that's not a good way to get people involved in the video game community, involved in video games. It just makes them feel like it's not their thing, you know? Because if the game itself is saying, like, this is too hard for you, then you're probably just going to be like, well, I guess video games aren't for me. I'm just going to go back to doing whatever it was, you know. This just isn't my thing. So it's just not the way to do it. Allow the player to decide if they want to play on easy. But yeah, I'm really against that. I don't think I've ever played a game where I thought that was good. I don't think I've ever played a game where I thought the game telling you, do you want to play it on an easier mode, was the right call. I just think that's really, really bad. I think that only breeds people not thinking that they're bad at the game. Instead of having the mentality of, oh, I failed twice, let's try to learn from my mistakes and get better. Instead, they're just like, oh, I suck. And then it's either they set it to easy and they never try to challenge themselves again, or they just quit because they're like, not for me, you know? So I'm very, very against that mechanic. I'm fine with games being easy. I'm fine with games being hard. I'm fine with people playing games on easy forever and never challenging themselves. You know, however you want to play games. But I very much disagree with the developer mentality that we should push them to play on an easier difficulty if they're struggling. That's just ridiculous to me. That's like, I remember when I played Stranger of Paradise, when you first go into a boss and you lose to them for the first time, a little thing spawns in that gives you like a description of the boss and what might work against the boss. And that's like a way better idea. Instead of being like, let's make it easier on you. Instead, they're like, this is what you should be looking for. Like, here's a strategy, right? I still not 100% sure if I want the game to tell me that, or if I want to figure it out myself. But regardless, that's a way better method than just lowering the difficulty of the game. You could just, not take it personally. Yeah, but not everyone's a video game player. Whenever you get into something for the first time, it's very easy to take things personally, Whenever you get into a hobby, it's very easy to think you're bad at it and think it's not for you. How many people have started a hobby and quit within the first week? I've done that many times with many different hobbies. You need someone there to tell you, you don't suck, you're just improving, So like that's my problem, is that I think that a lot of this happens with video games because of this, You're always going to go in with the mentality of, I'm not good at this, And you need the game to kind of coerce you into like, no, you are good at this. You just need to learn. You just need to, get better and teach you and give you mechanics and not say, oh, looks like you're bad. Want to play on easy mode? Like, no one wants that. Like, imagine you go to the gym with your buddy, right? And they're pumping iron. And then you sit down and they're like, oh, hold on, buddy. Let's get you the baby. You got the little baby weights, Like, no one wants to do that. And granted, with the gym, you kind of have to at first. But no one wants to be the guy with the 5-pound weights, Like, you want them to try to, like, help you, maybe spot you on a heavier weight or teach you how to, not just be like, here's your baby weights, I'm gonna pump iron while you. No one wants that. Yeah, and there's always, and I talk about this a lot with Kingdom Hearts, but the path of least resistance is something that's really hard to avoid with video games. It's really hard to design a game where most players won't just spam the X button. And that's something that, like, still to this day, game developers struggle with, is trying to find a way to entice the player to experiment and not just spam what's easy to them. But that's just kind of a way. It's a mentality that a lot of people have in a lot of things, not just video games. If you can get to the finish line in a way that's simpler to you, a lot of people are going to take that route, especially if it's in something that they're not super interested in or know a lot about. Us being video game players, a lot of times we want to experiment and try new things and figure out what's best and stuff, but a lot of people don't approach video games like that. They approach it as like, I'm just trying to get to the end to either see the story or prove I can do it or whatever, or to just have fun. And so like in Kingdom Hearts, they're not going to take the time to learn what spells are good against what and what spells are good to use at certain times. They're just going to spam X, and spamming X is fun, so they're just going to spam X. But then you have the issue where those people get to the end of the game and then they go online and they're like, Kingdom Hearts is a spam X fest. The spells don't do anything. The spells suck. All I did was spam X and I won. Game's too easy, you know? And it's like, well, no, you made it that way. You forced the game to be that way by your own mentality, you know? But that's something that game development's always struggled with. It's a hard thing to do. You know how you like pulling up Celeste and coaching players? I think there's a huge need for video game personal trainers like you're describing. They kind of tried to do that in this game with the... so what I found really interesting, you know when we started this game and they said they had the guides that you could talk to? I thought that was a cool idea because MMOs, at least for me, are a bit too much. And having someone tell me, like, you should just focus on doing this seems like it would help me out a lot. Like, if I wasn't doing this on stream and I just booted up Final Fantasy XIV one day and tried it, I think I would have actually found some pretty good use out of, like, a guide character. When that episode went up on YouTube, a couple people commented and said, like, no one uses those. Like, not a single like, it is dead. Like, like, apparently just no one uses those. And I found that kind of interesting. Like, I wonder if that's... I just don't want to talk to people and I just want to play on my own, or I already have... Like, I would imagine you're in two camps. Either one, you just want to play alone, or two, you already have friends you're playing with, and they're the ones that are teaching you. So, I'm not really sure. Like, I feel like there's no real target market there for those people. But also, I just wonder if that people feel like that's not playing the game correctly, or just... I don't know. I'm not sure what the mentality is there, but apparently that's like no one uses those. And I mean, the game does a really good job of teaching you anyways. Maybe that was more useful back when the game wasn't as good at teaching you, but now it's very good at teaching you what to do, so I just don't really see the use. Or just look up YouTube guides, yeah. We're in a world where you can just YouTube guide anything. If I feel like I need to play a very certain way to even make progress in a game, I'm not going to bother trying to figure out the right way to do it. If I'm missing attack and dodging windows and I just need not to do that, that's something I can fix on the fly, as the saying goes, yeah. A lot of times I try to put myself, because, you know, one of these days I want to make my own game. Something I really want to do, whether it just be a Snakeboat clone or something that's actually like really something. But, you know, I've always had the thought of one of these days I'm a boot up RPG maker and make something. And so I like to put myself in the perspective of a brand new video game player, you know? And I don't really know what that looks like nowadays. Back in the day, it was so much easier to be a brand new video game player. You know, like on NES, all the games were so approachable and video gaming was still kind of a new niche. So it wasn't that hard to just get into it. No one's gonna look down on you, you know, for being bad at video games. But nowadays it feels like, you know, like my wife trying to play any game that's not her games. You know, I tried to play Kingdom Hearts 3 with her. And as soon as she started to struggle, it was like she just didn't want to do it. And I feel like a lot of that mentality comes from, you're either good at video games or you're not. There's people that are into video games and there's people that aren't into video games, and I'm just not into video games, you know? And video games are so big now, and they're all over and they're everywhere, that it's hard to dodge that thought, I feel. How do you get into it now? How would someone that's never played video games before get into this? You know, it's so, like, expansive, and maybe niche isn't the right word, but, like, you kind of have to understand gaming in general to understand a lot of the concepts in this game. Grinding and quests and ability usage and cooldown timers and money and traveling and, like, all just the things that we all just know from playing video games. All that would be so new to them. And there's still definitely a lot of games nowadays that are very approachable, but there's some games I play and I'm like, how does anyone new play this? I finally tried the finals yesterday. Or no, 2 days ago. I finally tried that new shooter game, the finals. And it was all right. It wasn't really my thing. I didn't really like the movement. So I don't think I'll be playing it again. But one thing that really stuck out to me is, like, they just kind of throw you in. It's a tactical, party-driven shooter game, objective shooter game, like competitive objective shooter game, kind of style of like Overwatch. They just throw you in. It's like, how, if I'm new to games, how do I know what in the world's going on? Like, I would be so lost. I was pretty lost playing it, knowing exactly what Overwatch and tactical shooters are. I was pretty lost my first game. I can't imagine being like a brand new video game player and trying to make heads or tails of any of that game. When you first boot up the game, they're asking you, like, which character do you want to play and showing you all these abilities. And I'm like, I don't even know what type of game this is yet. The only reason I kind of know what I want to pick is because it's similar to, like, Overwatch characters having different roles. You know, there's like a healer and a tank. And I usually like playing DPS, so I'll pick the DPS one. But, like, other than that, I had no idea what any of it was that they were throwing at me. Yeah. I'm always interested to hear about my friends that don't really play video games, what they play. Because, like, obviously they're not playing a Toho game or something, but, like, like, what do they play? What is an approachable game? I have a friend just recently that said that he hasn't played games in years, but he randomly played Breath of the Wild and beat the whole game. And I was like, that must have been an interesting experience. Like, I mean, he's tech savvy, so I don't think he was literally, like, you know, fumbling over the controller or anything. But I'd be interested to see him play Breath of the Wild after not playing games for, like, several years. And kind of just see how he plays, like seeing how it goes, seeing how he picks up things, seeing how long it takes him to understand, like, just general mechanics, like using the map and weapon degradation and, like, just stuff like that. Like, just, it would be interesting to be a fly on the wall and just watch him play. And you'd probably learn a lot about video game design. And I think that there's a lot of things when I play a game where I'm like, why is this a thing? Why is this tutorial here? Why is this super easy enemy here? Like, what is the idea of this? Maybe there's, like, an opening section that just has, like, the most brain dead puzzle ever. And I'm like, what was the point of that? But then if I were to watch him play, I would probably understand a lot about the development side of why they did that. Why is that specific thing there to teach what mechanic that to me is just instant, but to them isn't? You know, something like, oh, you have to move this block to open this door. And to me, I'm like, well, what was the purpose of that? But to them, it teaches them that that's even a thing that you can do in Zelda, you know? So yeah, fascinating stuff. Really, if I'm ever to make my own game, whether it be a small game or a big game, that's the kind of stuff that I would be very useful to know, useful to learn. And maybe more game developers need to look into that. Or not. Or you make a game like Dark Souls, where the whole idea is throw them in with no knowledge. And that works too on occasion. It depends on the game. They will never... I don't want to go to, we've already been sitting here for a while, but that's one of the greatest video game experiences I've ever had, is playing Demon's Souls for the first time. Because even being someone that had played video games their whole childhood, I was destroyed by Demon's Souls. And it was so fascinating to me how Demon's Souls worked, because the whole idea of the game was you have no idea what you're doing, and you're going to need to call your friends to figure it out. It took me back to the time of playing original Legend of Zelda and having to talk to kids on the bus about how the heck to play it. And it really gave me that feeling back of being just completely decimated by a game on even just the most simple of levels. Like even just trying to move my character without falling off crap, you know? Like stuff like that, just the most basic. I walk into a boss and it just one-shots me, and I'm just like, why did it one-shot me? Like, I've never seen this in my life. Am I supposed to level up? Am I, like, how do I not get one-shot? Just very simple stuff like that. And then having your friends come along and being like, oh, press X on this random wall and it'll open up and there's a shield in there that helps, you know? But that's how it was designed. It was designed to be this social experience. And that's just so, that time was so fascinating to me. It really taught me a lot about video game design. Because, you know, up until that point, I just felt like games are easy, or, you know, you have to bring your own challenge into games. And that game really taught me, like, even the most seasoned person, you can throw a curveball at them and make them relearn everything all over again. Watching someone who doesn't play games adds a lot of context. The singer for Endwalker theme started playing Final Fantasy XIV to recently be AR, and everything fight and boss was a chore and experience for her. Yeah, I would imagine. No, like I said, if this is your first video game, holy crap, good luck. Like, I'm sure you could get through it for sure. Anyone can, but it would be an adventure for sure. Undertale is such a fascinating game. Whether or not you like it or not, whether or not you're part of the Undertale crazed fan base or not, it's such a fascinating game. Like, it really, in terms of video game design, such a fascinating game. Another game that really flips things on its head. I would put it in the same realm of, like, Demon's Souls. Like, it really flips things on their head. You play that game and you feel like you're playing video games for the first time. It's really, really interesting.